Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to gather this daily conversation around all things COVID-19. We talk about three different crises: the health crisis, the financial crisis, and the inequality crisis. We're always looking for story ideas and guest ideas. Please email us, sree@sree.net. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Find us on those platforms and share it. Our guest is doing that right now. She's busy on her phone sharing this for all her friends and family around the world. Our guest is Zarqa Nawaz. She's the creator of Little Mosque on the Prairie, which ran for 6 seasons in Canada, breaking a 20-year CBC record and was sold in more than 60 countries around the world. Her new comedy, Zarqa, is a mix of romance, race politics, and midlife rebellion. You know, things are just normally go together. We are delighted to bring you to her in just a few minutes. Please tell your friends to join us. Hi, everyone. I'm Sree. Thanks for being here. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting business. Our motto: don't cancel your in-person event without telling us first, and don't set up your virtual event without talking to us. We can help you. My email address is right here. We want to help. And so please contact us. We've done events for 50 people and events for 100,000 people. I bet your event is somewhere between those two numbers, and we can help you. Let's tell you a little bit more about this show. We have had more than 166 episodes, but in the first 150, we had 1 million plus viewers, 105 million social impressions, 281 guests from 57 cities, 16 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We're live on Scroll.in and Scroll Global. We are able to do this because of our wonderful producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. They've been live with me for 167 straight days, which is hard to imagine. Where are you watching from? Please tell us. You can find our entire archives at youtube.com/SreeNet, youtube.com/SreeNet. We're able to do this show because of our sponsors: Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, a free certification course now available. You can all take this free class right now, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. More than 4,000 people have taken this course. We also want to thank nunbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. 20% off with the code SREE, SREE, SREE at nunbelievable.com. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission. We're also grateful to She's on Call, a wonderful show with two doctors, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Kurian, that airs every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Please find them. Promotional consideration also provided by The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention, by Charles Cunnincarroll, developer of more than 80 patents. You can follow him at Inventor Charles and guidetoinvention.com. No matter what level your invention skills, you have an idea that you can make if you check out this book, The Inventor in You. Promotional consideration also provided by many thanks to our friends at hotstar.com/US. All right, we are now ready to meet Zarqa Nawaz, episode number 167. She's the creator of Little Mosque on the Prairie, which ran for 6 seasons in Canada. Her new comedy, Zarqa, is a mix of romance, race relations, and midlife rebellion. Everyone, please welcome my friend, Zarqa Nawaz.
Hi, Sree. How are you?
This is our second Facebook Live. When we did this the last time, it was many years ago. We sat outside my building. It was pitch dark, and we tried to do this Facebook Live. And today we're on a global stage. You're still a big rock star in the world of Canadian television and storytelling, and you've written a big book since then. I'm so happy to see you. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so honored to be on your show, and it's nice not to be sitting outside in the dark promoting things. We've arrived. We can do it, with lighting.
With lighting. How many lights are you using? You can tell us.
I have two big lamps aiming at me because I know that you can do these things really badly. Even if you have a lot of light this way, you can be completely in shadow. And I've seen some really bad Facebook Live. So I swore I would not do that to you, Sree.
Thank you. And you have not done that. So I'm really grateful. Everyone who's watching right now, tell your friends that we're talking to Zarqa Nawaz, and please follow her on Twitter at Zarqa Nawaz. She's got a big new project that she's going to tell us about. But first, tell us about your family and tell us how you're dealing with with COVID. I have a feeling that Canadians handle everything better than Americans. So we presume that's also true about COVID.
It's true. It's true. We are being very careful here in our province. Because I live in Saskatchewan, it's, for those who don't know, we are above North Dakota. So it is, we don't have as many challenges, say, as big, densely populated cities. We are, more spread out, and we have had significantly less cases than, say, our bigger cities like Toronto. But we are still being really careful. When I traveled from here to Toronto, and we decided not to fly in the airplanes because they had gotten rid of, the social distancing. And so we actually decided to drive all the way there. And it took 33 hours by car, because normally we would go through the US because it would be shorter, and you would have like bigger highways, but we decided to go through Canada, and only stopping at gas stations to get gas where we were gloved and masked, and got through the stations and managed to make it to my elderly parents' house in about 33 hours. So they live in Oakville, Ontario. So we traveled from Regina, Saskatchewan to Oakville, Ontario. And we didn't want to socially isolate when we got there. So we were super, super, super careful and didn't even stay in a hotel. I had two millennials who were driving the car, my daughter and my nephew, who needed to get to university, McMaster. And so we got there in one fell swoop, and we were able to shoot the trailer in Toronto. On the way back, though, we did stay in Thunder Bay overnight. And then when I got back home, I isolated an Airbnb before I went home to my family, just to be 100% safe. So you have to be cautious and take precautions, especially if you live with people with pre-existing conditions or the elderly. We live near my mother-in-law, and she has had a transplant, and it's really, really important that we are all very, very careful when we go out and who we have interaction with.
Well, you wouldn't believe it, but this is you're our second guest in less than a week from Regina.
Oh, no.
Canada. I was going to think, but we've probably not had anyone from Saskatchewan, but we did just last week in our episode about Gender Avenger. So everyone check that out. And so just so that people know where Regina is, you can see that. And there's Saskatchewan, and there's Winnipeg, Ontario. And then if you go down, you can see Detroit and then Toronto. And a lot of people don't realize that, Detroit is parts of Canada are below Detroit, right? Like that's one of the jokes about Canada and Detroit. But there you are. So you said that typically you would go down into, say, North Dakota and Minnesota and then drive. It's faster.
Yeah, we'll actually drive to Chicago because there's bigger highways, the divided highways, where you've got like the single highways if you're just driving through Canada, because it's a more remote setting when you're just driving within the Canada. So, less population when you're going the direct route. So normally we would go through, Chicago and the US, but because of the border restrictions, we couldn't probably come back to Canada through the US at this point because the borders are closed. It's difficult. So we went through Canada, which was beautiful. On my Twitter and my Facebook, we had a GoPro, we put it on the dash, and we recorded the whole journey. So you see the prairies, then you see the trees and the lakes, and then you see the city of Toronto. We recorded the whole 33-hour journey.
And just last geography lesson for today, your series was called Little Mosque on the Prairie. And so the prairie is the land like over here, right? Like that's That's why, like around Saskatchewan. So tell us about that title and what it meant for you to have a series that was sold into 60 countries and broke CBC records for the Canadian Broadcasting Company for sitcoms for 20 years. What was all that like?
It was incredible because in Canada, we were back in those days, we weren't known for sitcoms. We're known for sketch comedy, Kids in the Hall, The Red Green Show, but not for sitcoms. And there was this sort of pervading feeling that we just couldn't do it. Partly the reason was, we are your neighbors, and the vast majority of our programming was coming from the United States. And you guys have millions and millions of ad dollars to put in the airwaves. And, we have back then, we had a population of 30 million. You have a population of 300 million. And so just, in terms of just the number of eyeballs that, see our shows, they weren't enough to sustain them until two shows came out of Saskatchewan. Interestingly enough, a show called Corner Gas came out of a CTV, which is one of our broadcasters, and then CBC had Little Mosque on the Prairie, and both of them were shot in Saskatchewan, and they were about small little communities in our province. And it was so interesting that they became these monster hits in Canada and got record ratings and gave our country the confidence that it needed, that to prove that we can, in fact, make sitcoms and compete against American programming and be able to be successful. And part of the success of Little Mosque, I think, was because nobody had made a television series about Muslims just doing ordinary things that human beings do, like go to the bank, pay your mortgage, raise your kids. Those are the ordinary, mundane things that you see other people doing, but never Muslims. Muslims are only seen exclusively on the news, always like this thin sliver of Muslim experience, like the terrorism or the Islamophobia. But you never see the rest of it, like just us being human, like everybody else. And so I think that was astonishing for people to see this community for the first time living a normal life. And I think it was astonishing to broadcast executives that you could have a show about diversity with diverse leads and you get a white audience as well as a diverse audience, and that you could do that. And I think Hollywood executives paid a lot of attention to the success of Little Mosque. And as a result of that, we started seeing more and more diverse television shows like Blackish and, Modern Family and Fresh Off the Boat. And so there was this confidence that it helped grow television shows that had diverse characters and prove to the world that you don't need to have like white leads with just, that diversity is only like with the sidekicks, that the leads could be diverse and that people would watch. And I feel proud that Little Mosque and Prairie played a small role in getting that diversity across to the world in television, and increased the number of diverse shows that we see now today.
Talk us through the kind of storyline and these characters, introduce us to them.
Well, so like myself, I grew up in Toronto and then moved to Saskatchewan, and I was a very arrogant city slicker who thought, oh wow, now I'm in the prairies, and I would say dumb things like, how many provinces in Saskatchewan? Is that one or two over? People would look at me and go, oh my God, she's so arrogant and full of herself. She doesn't even know about the rest of the country. And I guess that's what, people say about, say, Americans. They don't know about the rest of the world. But they also said that about people in Canada from Toronto, that they don't know about the rest of Canada and the people who live here and our concerns and what's going on. And so it was like a real slap in my face that I didn't know about the regions of the country that I, grew up in. And so I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to make a series about an imam who leaves his high-profile lawyer job in Toronto and goes to run a mosque in Saskatchewan, and he thinks, he's all that because he's from the city. And then he gets schooled by this community. He's like, you're not all that. And there's a lot of things you need to learn about humbleness and maturity and seeing things from other people's point of view, because he thinks that he's better than everyone else. And so it was an interesting show about being humble and realizing that you have to meet people where they are, and that you can't think that you're better than other people just because you came from a bigger city.
So walk us through some of these folks that we're looking at, and tell us the stories, like some of these characters.
Yeah, so that's Fred Tupper. So everybody has a right-wing radio shock jock who's, a little bit racist, who's against minorities, who's always, doing the dog whistle politics that, the kind, I guess you would see it on Fox News, but everyone has someone local in their community. And so we wanted to show a Muslim community that couldn't afford a mosque. So they worshiped in a church. And so then you would have Muslims and Christians worshiping together in the same building and sort of dealing with each other's prejudices and misunderstandings, and then you would have sort of this Islamophobic element of the radio shock jock who's always trying to stir the waters, and how the communities are dealing with that, as well as sort of just the internal issues of just, being husband and wife, or, father, daughter, father, the dynamics between children and their parents, and then just the dynamics of community members, the mayor who's trying to, run this town, and she's got to deal with all the different people who have different agendas. And so it was this really amazing show that just showed the different perspectives of people. But we had never seen a show that was written by a Muslim woman, created by a Muslim woman, from her point of view. And like this came out of my lived experience of being a Muslim, going to the mosque, growing up in the mosque culture. And that had never been seen on television before, right? When a white male writer writes about women in the mosque or Muslims going to the mosque, it's from a very different point of view, from an outsider, from his lens, and from the issue of stereotypes. Whereas for me, it was from the inside, telling stories from my perspective, which gave the viewers a very different type of story than they normally would have seen if I hadn't been Muslim and it hadn't come from a Muslim woman's point of view. So that was really, really important to me.
This actor seems very familiar. I've seen him in a bunch of other things. Yeah?
Carlo Rota. Yes, he is an amazing actor. He's in a lot of different films and movies. I think he was in Jane the Virgin. He played, I believe he played the father of one of the main characters. And that's, Sheila McCarthy is like an iconic Canadian actor. We had Arlene Duncan, who played Fatima, who ran the cafe. We have Duncan, that was the reverend who ran the church where the Muslims worshipped in. So it was an amazing series. It had, so many, it talked about faith and comedy and Christianity and Islam, but it wasn't necessarily like about being a good person and, about religion. It was about people who were religious, but were ordinary people who had ordinary foibles.
Ordinary people with ordinary foibles. Those make some of the best sitcoms. Let's see who is watching here. Let's see. Jonathan's watching from the East Village, where I'm never more than a block or two away from a demonstration. And we should pause for a minute and just acknowledge what the terrible thing that happened overnight in the U.S. late yesterday. I don't know if this has made the news. I'm sure you may have seen this, that a man was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin. And just a terrible, terrible story. It was so tragic to see the video. I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but a man is trying to get into his car. There was some domestic dispute. The police came. This is one of the things people have said after the George Floyd killings, is that don't send the police for domestic incidents. Send people who are trained in de-escalation, not people with weapons. And you see him come out, and then the police are kind of pulling at his shirt, and they shoot him 7 times in the back, and he's now fighting for his life. Just a terrible, terrible story. Jonathan, thank you for being here. And yes, there are demonstrations in the East Village. Jonathan's also watched 167 episodes of this show.
Wow.
Thank you, Jonathan, for always being here with your support. Also, someone who watches almost every day is my mom, watching in Kerala. Have you been to India, Zarqa?
I've not. I've been to Bangladesh. I've been to Pakistan. I have not yet been to India. I would love to go.
And where's your family's roots from?
Well, my roots are from India, pre-partition. My parents are Punjabi, and Luxiana was the place where Punjabi. But during the partition, they were forced to move into Pakistan, which is now, I think, Faisalabad and Islamabad. So they were part of that whole movement that happened in 1947.
Well, you've got to go to Indian Punjab. You'll find you'll feel very much at home. Let's see who else is here. Rajan is watching from Long Island, and you've been to New York, of course. Have you been to Long Island?
I don't think I've been to Long Island. I have to.
Yeah, our friend Charles, who's one of our sponsors, is watching from North Caldwell, New Jersey. Glenn Fernandez is watching from Mumbai, very early in Mumbai. It's like 7 a.m. So thank you for watching. And Steve Taylor, one of my colleagues at Digimentors, is watching from Philadelphia. Have you been?
I have been to Philadelphia. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, the food, the music, everything is amazing.
Yes.
I'm glad you've gone. Rose Horowitz, one of our producers, chimes in and says, joining from Connecticut, I'll be tweeting live. Follow us. So she's Rose Horowitz 31. Our hashtag is Street COVID-19 call, so that you can join us. Pradnya is watching from Silver Spring, Maryland, right outside of DC. Have you spent time in DC?
I have spent a lot of time in DC, as you know, with our mutual friend Lena Hashim. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, that's great. And Raja says, if I recall correctly, Carlo Rota was in 24.
That is absolutely right. He has been in everything. He doesn't last for very long before they shoot him, but he has been in everything.
Prerna is watching from Forest Hills in New York, former president of SAJA, the South Asian Journalists Association. We have a common friend, Sharaf Majood, who was also president of SAJA, and he's now producer at CBS and a good friend. Ashok Bhatt is watching at 6:30 in the morning. Good morning, he says, from India. So Ashok, great to see you. So we want to set this up for everyone. So you made this whole sitcom, and unlike Jerry Seinfeld, you didn't put yourself in it, and you were never an actress. You created, you wrote, you produced, you helped bring that all together. And that show was so successful, it was sold into more than 60 countries. And this was in the era before streaming and before Netflix and everything else. So it was a different time and a different way in which people got their comedy and their entertainment. You then went on to write a book. Tell us about that.
It was so interesting. After the Little Mosque on the Prairie ended, I wanted to sort of just take a break from all the traveling because, we had shot in Toronto. I live in Saskatchewan, so it meant being away from my kids for the whole week and just coming home on weekends. This went on for years, and they were little. Like, the youngest one was in grade 1 and 3 and 5 and 7. And, I just wanted a break from all that. So I thought, why not work in the same place that I live? And so I decided to write a memoir called Laughing All the Way to the Mosque. And it was just about me growing up as a woman in Canada and what my childhood as a Muslim was like. And so that came out in 2014, I believe. That's where Sree and I met, and we're promoting it on Facebook in the middle of the night for some reason, right? So
yeah, I don't know why we did that. I don't know why you came over at like 8:30 and we were sitting in the dark outside my apartment building. You must have been in town for the last couple of days, or must have been your last night here.
Yeah,
something
like we gotta just do this right now. So let's just do it.
Yeah. And so we seized the day, as they say. And so we're just looking at your bio on your website, zarqanawaz.com. Everybody should check it out. One very funny lady, says Robert Collinson in the Toronto Star. And here's Zarqa with her younger brother, Muzammal Nawaz. Where is Muzammal these days?
He is in Burlington, Ontario. He lives in Ontario, and I live in Saskatchewan. So we're
and what kind of older sister were you? Were you a bully?
No, I was a nice sister. I was a year older than him. I protected him from the bullies. I'd like to think that.
But a lot of funny people practice their material on their younger siblings, don't they?
Yes. Back in those days, I think I was trying to become a doctor. So I was trying to get my science degree at the University of Toronto. So it was a really crazy time to be growing up Muslim, because nobody went into filmmaking or journalism at that time. It was just like a straight road to medical school. So it was so then I kind of departed from that journey when I got into the sciences at U of T, because I just couldn't do it anymore. I just felt like there was this sort of creative energy inside of me that needed to be explored.
And this was your book, Laughing All the Way to the Mosque, a memoir of sorts from the creator of Little Mosque on the Prairie. Zarqa's book about her life is an intimate and hilarious look at growing up as a Canadian Muslim. Why is it called a memoir of sorts?
Because I think my kids feel like I had taken some liberties in how I explored their lives. So they would like everyone to know that they feel it belongs in the fiction section, not the nonfiction section. Right?
All right. And so let's fast forward past that. So you've had that success. You're looking for your next venture when the Canadian Media Fund comes up with a very complicated kind of way to fund new projects, right? So talk us through that.
So what happened was after, I wrote my book, I decided to go into stand-up comedy for a while. And then after I was going to do it for about 2 years, and then suddenly COVID hit 8 months in, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because, my whole plan was to go on tour for a bit. And so a friend said, you should just apply for television grants. You shouldn't just sit around, doing nothing. So I applied, and I got what they call independent fund trailer. So they give you a lump of money, and they expect you to make a trailer for a TV show that doesn't exist. And the idea is that you have to prove discoverability. If you can prove that you can get people to watch the trailer, then you can apply for funding to make the whole first season. Because the idea is that a lot of people are making series that are sort of disappearing because streaming is so competitive and you can't get eyeballs on shows anymore because there's just too much out there. So they want the teams to show proficiency in getting social media engagement. So the idea is to put the trailer out there and to get people to watch it, and then we submit the analytics after 30 days. And if the analytics are strong, and because it is a competition against, say, 20 other teams, then there's enough money to go around. They want to give it to the team that has a proven track record, that they have, in terms of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, that they have gone out and they have worked really hard to engage people in social media, so that when they make the series, they will also be able to do that and be successful when it comes out. Because, as you know, there's so many streaming services out there. There's so many web series out there. And you three, of all people, understand how important it is to master the social media engagement element of that, because people have too much. There's just too much out there, and you need to be able to reach them so that they can watch your product. Otherwise, all that hard work just sort of disappears.
And so, but that's a lot of pressure. And so your 20 teams got a good amount of money to create a high quality trailer. And then based on the trailer, how many views the trailer gets, you get funded for a big pot of money. How many people get the big pot of money?
Well, that's the big question. So I have asked them, and all my answer is not a lot. So that's, so my feeling is probably maybe just a couple of the teams. So we have gone out of our way. We launched on the 15th, a week ago, on August 15th. It's been online now for a week and a day. And we've been really fortunate on Twitter. We've had over 40,000 views. I think something close to that on Facebook. And we are doing, organic engagement. We're doing a little bit of paid ads, but we're also talking to you and engaging people and reaching out and putting, contributions out on social media and saying, this is what we can do for you if you'll watch and share and spread the trailer around to all your friends. And if you do this, then hopefully you will get a television series out of it. So that's the bonus that comes out of sharing the trailer.
And if you're allowed to put money, what is keeping somebody from putting a lot of money into this and buying their way into success and so organically?
Oh, you mean like if someone said to me, go get a Russian bot and they'll just give you 1 billion views and that'll be it, right? So that was like, I was sorely tempted, but then the funding agencies are like, no, we actually watch to see how you're engaging with people, how people are talking to you, how you are talking to them, how much you're responding to them, how much, you're giving back, so that there's this sense of ownership, that people are like, we want this to succeed because we enjoyed watching the trailer. We have something to say. So that's important, is that the engagement aspect of it is that the majority of the engagement should be organic, that it shouldn't just be paid ads. Like, you put a very little amount of money in to get as much as you can in terms of responsiveness from people, because they enjoyed watching it. They enjoyed interacting with you. They enjoyed what you had to say. Even like an interview like this, it's like giving part of yourself into answering people's questions, mentoring them, offering them, help with their own projects, giving a part of your own expertise and putting that out there, and to help other diverse writers, in the BIPOC world, because we need more stories out there from the BIPOC community, because not enough has been done traditionally. And it's really important to get stories from the viewpoint of diverse communities, because we haven't seen that for a very long time. And now we're getting a lot of transparency from a lot of these, agencies going, well, who are the gatekeepers? Are they all white men? And do they always, let sort of white men tell their stories all the time? Like, why are we not seeing stories from Black women or from Indigenous, women, women of color? Like, where are those stories? Why don't we see more of that? And I think now is the time to get our stories out there, because there's a change in the culture where people are saying, yeah, like, what's happening. Why is the entertainment always been very skewed one way? And so I feel this is the time to really engage with people and get them to see the importance of telling stories. I don't think we've ever seen a comedy television series from the point of view of a Muslim woman. And I think that, that's really important for me to get those stories out there, because if you don't do that, you end up seeing the same story told over and over again from a very narrow point of view. And that ends up creating very sort of dangerous stereotypes of who Muslim women are and, how we live our lives and how people view us. And the only way to change that is for us to get our own stories out there, not let other people tell our stories. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Now we're ready to show the trailer for the new sitcom. So you want to set it up first, Zarqa, or
sure.
Before you do that, let me just read this comment from Doug Levy, who says,
Doug,
such a great initiative. You know Doug? That's a small world.
We were there together in New York when we took your course.
Oh, nice. Very, very cool. Rahajan says, definitely adding this to my list. Watching from Washington, D.C. is Lena Hashem. Love seeing you both of you united again online. Sree, I still use your social media tips. Thank you, everyone. I have a free course that everybody in the world can now take, and it's available at mrac.co/social. So everybody check this out, please. And it's a free course that you can sign up for right now, mrac.co/social. And it's a free certification that you can get. More than 4,000 people have already taken that course. So we want you to take that as well. Lots of comments still coming in from folks. One of my intentions is to write the first Indonesian American novel. There are already a lot of Filipino American novels. It's possible someone might do so first. However, we're cheering for you, Rajan, and you get a twofer, right? You are Indonesian and Filipino, so you can get that. Salim says, I saw the trailer on the weekend, thought it looks hilarious. Looking forward to the full show. Lena says Doug Levy is awesome, and Doug has a fabulous free newsletter that you can sign up for that gives you information about coronavirus that you can trust. So everybody, please check it out, douglevy.com, douglevy.substack.com, and please check it out. And Lena says, my course is great and so useful. Thank you so much for that. I think we're ready now to see the documentary. It's about 2 minutes long. We're going to have Zarqa set it up for us, and then I'm going to play it. So go ahead.
Sure. So this is about a very jealous and vindictive and impulsive Muslim woman who's just like a terrible person, which I think is important to show, because Muslims can also be terrible people. Like, that's part of being ordinary and having foibles and being flawed and being complex and just dealing with the issues of divorce and jealousy and remarriage. I mean, those issues I don't think we've dealt with, with Muslim women. So I wanted to make a story about just a really bad, terrible person. I mean, she's not that bad, but I mean, she has her flawed. I wanted to make a story about a flawed, complex Muslim woman.
Let's hit play and bring it up. Okay, ready? So I'm just going to hit play in just 1 second. All right, here we go. And everyone, you can find the trailer at zarqanawaz.com. You can find it at Zarqa Nawaz on Twitter, YouTube, etc., Instagram. So check it out. Here we go.
Oh my God. Congratulations. I'll be there with my +1. Brian. He's a lawyer? Model. Zane? Zane! Did you see Facebook? Your father's getting remarried.
Oh no.
Siri, find me the #1 dating app for people over 50.
Mama, just relax. I'm coming down.
White people only. How fast do dating apps work?
Why? What did you do?
I told everybody on the internet that I'm coming to the wedding with Brian.
Brian? Oh my god, Mama, just delete your comments.
Just upload parameters and photo.
This is not a competition.
It is if I win.
She's really nice.
You knew about her?
I was gonna tell you, but you have this thing about white people.
I don't like them.
Mama, you are so mean.
What did you say? Oh my god, what am I doing? Winning! Hello, Brian.
I love that. And then it says, hello, Brian, at the end is just fabulous. And so we now have this trailer. Tell us about the response to the trailer.
It has been amazing. I'm really surprised. I have to be honest, I was scared about acting. I wasn't sure if I should do it. I mean, it's traditional for stand-ups to eventually move into acting, but that's after years and years of being on the road and developing their skills. So it was, you know, I was only doing stand-up for 8 months when suddenly COVID hit and it became impossible to do. And I was going to eventually try to transition into acting, but definitely not this quickly. But then this, you know, I applied for this fund and I got it. And suddenly I have, you know, my friends were like, well, you're going to have to act in it because that's traditionally what stand-ups do. And I was like, no. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, you know, will replace me or we'll get somebody else. But the director, Liz Whitmere, was also an acting coach. And so she worked with me to get me through that whole process of acting. And, you know, we moved through it slowly. And it worked out well. I mean, I was very like scared about how it would look. But people say, you know, it didn't look, too artificial. So I'm really glad that to do something, to get out of your comfort zone and to do something different was really, really hard for me. So I'm really glad it worked out. And hopefully, if we get the funding to go all the way through to actually act in a larger series with more experienced actors will be incredible.
And we hope you get that for sure. So tell us, what is the competition like, and what are you doing to get the word out? And folks, if you're watching right now, please go to zarqanawaz.com, click on that trailer, because that every YouTube view counts. We're going to have thousands of people will have seen it, but through this show, but that's only counts as one view. So we want more people to click and watch the entire video. So please do that. But tell us what you're doing to get the word out. And if you have questions for Zarqa, please do ask.
It was great. We hired a social media team called Strat Lab here in Regina, Saskatchewan. We got funds from Creative Saskatchewan, one of our funders. And so we meet, twice a week, and we come up with strategies of what we can do to get more social media engagement. When we were shooting the trailer, I made videos of behind the scenes interviews with myself and the actor and the various crew members. And so we're editing them and putting them up online every day, like a new video, a new little tidbit about the show. We're actually doing a book giveaway of my memoir. So if people share the trailer and tag 2 friends, I will mail them a book. We're having a contest. And so we're doing, those sort of things to engage more people and to give more people, different things that they can enjoy. We're going to also be launching a crowdfunding campaign on Launch Good, which is a crowdfunding campaign which is very specifically targeted within the Muslim community to help raise 10% of our budget, because part of the deliverables for these grant giving agencies is they want to see you not only get social media engagement, but they also want to see you raise 10% of your budget to prove that you have widespread support among your fans. And so we're going to be engaging in that in about a week. So we're getting all our elements together. So there's like all these balls in the air, Sree. From morning till night, the whole team is working together, constantly doing interviews, engaging with people. Sometimes I bring a battery pack for my phone and hide, when we go to visit friends, socially distanced, I'll go to the bathroom, plug in my phone, and just try to respond to every single person, who likes the video, and to let them know that, how much their support means to me, and how incredible it is, and how much we need that support.
That's so cool. So let me ask you about being on the other side after directing and creating these characters and everything else. What is it like to be an actress, even though it was so short, right? The trailer that took some time to put together, took some resources. You can see the production values are huge, even though it's a 2-character video, basically. Talk about what the pressures are like and how it's different. And did you get a taste of your own medicine after like yelling at at actresses and actors for your show? What was it like on this side?
Oh, it was so hard. Like I wrote a scene where I opened the door and I'm carrying a bag of groceries, eating a banana, just scrolling on Facebook on my iPhone, and I couldn't even open the door to get in. They was call action, and I was like, I have too many things, and they had given me this grocery bag, and they had actually filled it with the real fruit, the fruit that's falling. But when you fill a paper bag of groceries like full with real fruit, it's like, I don't know, 20 pounds. And I couldn't like eat the banana, drop the fruit, scroll through Facebook and open the door. And you could see me struggling in the, they had to really do a lot of cuts. And at the beginning of the trailer, I was just like so grateful to drop this bag, and they always had to have a second bag and more fruit. And I realized, it's easy to put all these stage directions in for actors. And on top of that, act like normally while you're just struggling to, and having this big camera in front of your face and you're like trying to type, looking for lawyer, model, brain surgeon, and like the intensity of that whole thing. I don't know how actors do it. It's so difficult. And I was telling myself, never again am I going to give myself so much to do, because I never considered like how hard it is just to act while you're also struggling with all these props and just trying to do that thing. And even simple things, like I was trying to put lip gloss on while yelling at my son and, trying to do that. And I would be getting it on my fingers and my lips were getting sticky and I was getting sticky. Eventually I had to throw that one away and get another one because like the whole bottle was a mess. And yeah, it's incredible. It's such a complicated, difficult, challenging job that I don't think I've ever really considered before, that, when you add all these extra things on top of the acting. I remember listening once to the actor who played House, and he was saying how he had to walk with a cane, he had to have a different accent, all these things that the writers put in, and how challenging all those things are. And then as writers, I don't think we really understand what we do to these actors. So, I'm rewriting things now going, she's carrying a very light purse, which she puts down, and then she pulls out her phone, and then just very, it's like, giving the poor actor a break, because it's, especially when you write comedy, you think you just throw everything in and that they'll do it. And the great actors just know what to do. But no, I never considered how hard it was before. Not this hard, for sure.
Let's break down that scene where you decide to give yourself a boyfriend that you're looking for, right? And that whole sequence where you do model first and then you turn him into a brain surgeon. I think in between there was something else. But
yeah, a lawyer. So I was trying to think of all the things our parents, like wanted us to be in life, right? Like a lawyer, maybe not a model. I was thinking a model was going to be funny. I kept thinking, should it be an underwear model? Because she's trying to make her ex really jealous, right? So I thought it would be really funny, especially like in the South Asian community, because there's such an obsession with becoming a doctor. And then even within the world of being a doctor, there's like different levels, right? Like the brain surgeon is considered the highest of the echelons. Like you've made it. There's nobody higher on earth, like the angel singing heaven. And then,
for example, is a brain surgeon, right? So,
pardon me?
Sanjay Gupta on CNN.
Okay, is he really? There you go. Right? And he's on CNN, so he's made it. And I just thought it would be really funny if the ex-husband is a podiatrist. He's like a foot doctor. So she does this on purpose because she knows he'll feel like, he's not as good as a brain surgeon. And there'll always be this kind of competition between the two of them. So she's trying to like really go after him and pick, trigger him and his jealousy. So she's really like a really mean person. So that's what I wanted to get across, was just like how vindictive she could be.
And we got a lot of her in just those 2 minutes. We know her age, right? She's looking for a dating app for people about 50. She's not as tech savvy because she just says, how fast do dating apps work? She's got a son who's, when she first shouts, people may not realize that's her son because it looks like a man lying there. And so he's obviously a young man himself. Like you packed a lot into a trailer that wouldn't necessarily have been automatically that packed.
Yeah, I really wanted, like, you only have 2 minutes and you got to get across a lot of dynamics. Like, what I wanted to get across was, here is a mother and a son, but really it's the opposite relationship. He's the parent and she's the child, and he's the one going, no, wait, let me come and fix things for you. But he doesn't get there fast enough because she's really impulsive, and she's like, she talks to Siri as if Siri's a person going, white people only, right? So it's a secret between her and Siri. And I really wanted to get that, child parent dynamic, because the other thing I never see when you see immigrant stories is that it's always the immigrant and the child, and there's always some traditional conflict, like boyfriend in school, or problem, the child wanted to do something the parent doesn't. Like, it's a very, the stories are almost stereotypically the same immigrant first generation stories, and I wanted to do away with that and say, this mother grew up in the West, she raised a child in the West in the same way I have, and we share sort of a culture. We are both going to gay pride parades. We don't have issues around the LGBT community. So I want to sort of do away with the traditional conflicts that people always portray in the media, and just say it's just a mother and it's a mother and son, and he's like trying to deal with this crazy mom who's impulsive and does these nutty things because she's so jealous and impulsive and so flawed, and he's always sort of the logical one who's trying to school her. And I thought that's a really interesting dynamic that you never see in the first and second generation community on television. And the only place I've ever seen it is Jane the Virgin, where you see Jane, her mother, and her grandmother, and those three women, and that generation. And so I wanted to create something very different from the traditional television shows that we see when it comes to immigrant and immigrant culture and the relationship we have with our parents and our children. And I thought this would be a really interesting way to explore that. A mom dealing with divorce, and then the whole idea of race politics. Like, I was reading a lot of articles by South Asian women and how they were really disappointed with the movie The Big Sick, and disappointed with Aziz Ansari's show Master of None, because those were shows where they had like a man of color choosing a white woman as the trophy, and that sort of became a trope in romantic Hollywood films. Like, you couldn't have a man of color choose a woman of color, right? And then now because of the heavy criticisms that came down because of those two pieces of entertainment, we are now seeing shows like Crazy Rich Asians, where you have an Asian lead with a romantic Asian lead, both of them, instead of the typical white brown or white black dynamic that we are more typically used to seeing on television. So I wanted to take that trope and really play with it. Like, if you're going to have a white trophy, then I am going to have a white trophy, and we're going to compete with our white trophies against one another, to bring home the whole issue of how we see race politics play out in film and television.
Rafiq Katwari says, solidarity, so proud of you, Zarqa. That's nice. And Lena says, Zarqa, do parts of this character emulate you in real life? And she's got a smiley face in there somewhere.
Okay, so I want everyone to know that my husband has not left me for a skinny white yoga instructor. Because a lot of people are really worried that this is autobiographical, and it is not. It is completely fictitious and completely made up. I just thought it would be like a funny scenario. It never occurred to me that people would come back and go, oh my God, she's talking about her real life. So
Are you okay? Yeah. Are they asking things like that? Yeah.
Yeah, they are asking. And then when I told everyone, no, don't worry, this isn't based on real life, all these people started responding on social media going, oh my God, I'm so glad, because I really thought this was autobiographical, which it's not. So no worries. My marriage is fine. Thank God. So it's all good.
Rafiq says, Sree, thanks for featuring Zarqa. Well, I want to say to Rafiq and everybody watching, the way to thank me is by watching the trailer and tagging 2 friends and telling friends, and tag them for the show. People can watch the show right after. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn right now, and we'll be live. The recording will run right after we're off the air. So please support Zarqa by making sure you are sharing this. We want everybody. Look, if brown people get behind this, you're going to have lots and lots of views. So tell everybody, so that Zarqa can get her own show, instead of us being so happy about 2 minutes. Let's get 10 seasons worth of a show with Zarqa. So that'll be awesome. And she's shown she can do it, because she did it with Little Mosque on the Prairie, which ran for multiple seasons, 6 seasons, 90 episodes, and was sold into 60 different countries, which is awesome that she was able to do that. Rajan says, also Crazy Ex-Boyfriend was groundbreaking for me, in which a white woman was paired with an Asian man. Love Mark Lee, watching from Durham, North Carolina. Love breaking stereotypes. How did you admire satires? For example, I'm a friend of Robert Townsend, who's a matter of satire. So talk a little bit about satire.
I think satires are a brilliant way to upend stereotypes. I think that's, I began my career doing satires. I did a comedy. My very first film was called Barbecue Muslims, and it was 1995. And it was when, people remember the Oklahoma bombing happened, and it was at that time the greatest domestic terror incident of its time. 165 people died because the Alfred P. Murrah building, exploded with people in it. And I remember that day because in the Toronto Star, there were all these Muslim suspects written, pictures across the front page. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, Timothy McVeigh was arrested. And he was a white man, an ex-military guy who was really angry at the American government for their mishandling of the David Koresh case years earlier. And he wanted revenge against the American government. And he was trying to figure out ways to bring attention, to his cause and get vengeance. And he was just, it was between assassinating somebody in the government or blowing up a federal building. And so that was the first time I realized, wow, all this media attention, even the security apparatus was so concerned about the Muslim community. They didn't see sort of the right wing kind of, white people who are also perpetuating damage on American people. And I thought, how do you get people to realize the power of stereotypes and how damaging they are? So I made a comedy called Barbecue Muslims, where 2 brothers are sleeping in their basement one night and the barbecue blows up. And it turns out that this anti-resistant front is going around blowing up barbecues because they're against air pollution. They were a little bit ahead of their time, and they're hoping to get attention to their cause, but didn't realize that they had, because they were blowing up barbecues at night, they didn't realize a Muslim family owned this particular barbecue, and that Muslim family, the 2 brothers, get arrested and taken away. And then they're fighting with each other, picketing in front of the police station, going, "It was us, we had been the ones who blew up the barbecue." And they're arguing, like, "Why did you pick a Muslim barbecue?" And he goes, "Look, man, barbecues are just in backyards. They're not ecumenically labeled. We don't know if this is owned by a Jewish family or, a Sikh family or a Hindu family. We just blow them up. It wasn't our fault that it was owned by a Muslim family, and now we can't get any attention." So, I think this was my very first short film, and it's on my website. People want to see it. And, it was pretty schlocky. I used my brother and his friends and the neighbors, and we made it. And I submitted it to the Toronto International Film Festival the following year. And I remember getting a very irate phone call from the programmer at the festival. And he said, "You know what, we are going to program your film. And there are going to be filmmakers who are going to be very annoyed that their very technically beautiful, perfect film was rejected for this. But we cannot deny that you are the only person out there that is making comedies about Muslims and terrorism. And we've never seen that before." And I think that was really important because it made people realize that, we can talk about these really difficult issues in satires and in comedies and sort of talk about stereotypes. Because when you make people laugh about the stereotypes they believe in, then people are willing to let their guard down and start to talk about, some of their prejudices, because you're not attacking them. You're sort of mocking the stereotype, and you're making it sort of a universal language of comedy where people can relate to it and then sort of examine themselves and their prejudices. And that was really important to me. And so that film and the success of that film, despite the fact that it was so rough and so amateurish, helped me realize that so much good can be done by writing stereotypes about these really important issues, that we need to talk about. Sorry.
Lena tagging a bunch of folks.
Okay.
And that's great. And so are several other folks. And Rafiq says, "Will do, boss," when I told him he should share this with the world. And Prerna says, "So we'll do 2 more questions and then we'll let you go. Do you see yourself telling non-Muslim stories, or do you think one should stick to their own circles of experience and do that well?" And Prerna is a terrific filmmaker herself.
That is a really good question. I get asked that a lot. Basically, I make films about things that interest me, like an issue that happened or something I read about or something that's going on in the world. And then because I'm Muslim and I'm a woman, I always think of putting my position in that area and seeing how I would explore it and deal with it. It's not that I don't want to tell non-Muslim stories. I just feel like there's enough people out there already telling those stories. And there's so few people like me who have the experience now, especially in the comedy writing room, because to write a really good sitcom, it takes years and years and years of training in a story room where you learn your craft and write and write and write and write. And back in the days of Little Mosque, now there's less episodes of series that come out today. When you watch Netflix, there'll be like 7 or 8 or 9 episodes. But back in Little Mosque's day, you would have to write 20 episodes per season. And that was like 6 months of coming up with ideas and learning how to break the story and then writing the story and understanding the craft. And then, years and years of building on that experience. And that takes a long time. And I feel that it also, as you gain in that skill level, you become a better writer. And there's not a lot of us who've had that opportunity and that privilege of being in story rooms to learn that craft. So I feel like it's important to tell stories that nobody else will tell unless, I tell them. And so for me, it's important to be that person to tell those stories because I've been given that opportunity to learn the craft. Because if any message I can get out there to filmmakers or young people who are trying to break into the industry is really, really learn the craft of writing, because that is the hardest skill to learn. You can hire good actors, you can hire good directors, you can hire great producers, but if you don't have a brilliant and well-told and well-crafted story, no one is going to watch. So that's the most important lesson I want to give out there. And especially if you're an actor, then don't wait for other people to cast you in their films. Write your own films. Write your own opportunities. Don't wait for those opportunities. Be your own boss and seize them. That's my advice.
Steve Taylor says, what are some of your top tips on promoting a show via social media now that you've done it? One way would be to, as we discussed, telling some Russian bots that this is to help the presidential election in the US and they'll get right on it somehow. But short of that, what are your other tips?
We didn't just put it online. What we did was we took 2 weeks. Every day we gave a little bit of a teaser. Every day we said, and now it's coming, and now it's coming. And we give a little bits of this, a little bits of that. And so we built on it gradually, and we reached out to people that we knew to be good friends and supporters and say, this is coming out. When it comes out, could you also help us get it out? So you have to sort of create those friendships ahead of time. And that's why it's important, if you're going to be online, is to, especially like a platform like Twitter, is to be supportive of other people's projects and to be there for them, so that when you need them, that they'll also be willing to help you. And to constantly be contributing to the online community, giving parts of yourself, giving parts of your expertise, being part of people's lives. And it's because the online experience has to also translate into the real life experience. And I think that's really important. And so you just can't exist purely in the social media. You have to exist as part of a wider community. And just like what Sree is doing, to go out and to reach people who are influential and who have important tips to give about COVID or how to, Black Lives Matter, to reach out and let them have a platform to tell their story and not let it just be about yourself. And I think that's really, really important. And so that helps, because then people are willing to give you that time when you need it, and to be part of the world and to be part of making the world a better place, and to be engaged, online and in real life, and not just to be on social media, sometimes to turn it off and to go out and to help people and to be part of their lives. I mean, it's hard. I find it really tough to do social media, because just the whole thing about putting yourself out there and engaging and tweeting and constantly talking about things. I mean, it is tiring, and you have to balance that out with your real life and your own family and your children, and the world, and to find that balance and not just to be like one extreme and the other.
Prerna says, love that answer. So that's nice. Salim says, for 2 decades, the FBI has repeatedly identified the right-wing white nationalist supremacist movement as the top terrorism threat, which we're now seeing play out, which we know about. And you're so right about the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. I was in New York, and the first reaction was that this must have been Muslims, must have been Arabs. And in fact, they did stop Arab drivers in and around Oklahoma as they were leaving, going about their day. They were stopped because they were nothing else, but they were Muslim and happened to be stopped. Paula's watching from Vegas. Better late than never. We'll watch from the top. Do you have a good Vegas story you can share?
I don't. I've driven through Vegas and it's beautiful, but I've never been able to stop. One day after COVID, I promise.
And Mark says, we're seeing the rise of drive-through films and virtual platforms for movies. I think this has actually opened up the movie industry to be more democratic and actually help the indie business.
No, it's absolutely true. I've had friends who have their own streaming platforms for, web series, and they're telling me people are home now. People have time. People want to watch stuff. So it's given them an opportunity to grow in a way that wouldn't have happened before, because the big franchises who have like hundreds of people on set can't make those films anymore. But we can, because if you have a modest budget, you just don't have the luxury of, 100 people on crew. Like even when we shot the trailer, we had to shoot my scenes and Hussain's scenes separately. So that's why we actually never meet, because we shot my scenes and then we shot his scenes at 2 different times of day so that we wouldn't have too many people congregating in the house. And so you can only do that if you do really modest budgets, and that's from indie filmmakers. So it's definitely our time now.
Excellent. Before you go, I want you to tell us about the art behind you.
Oh my God. So this is done by a famous Muslim calligrapher, Haji Noor. He is from China, and I used to buy them whenever I would go to Islamic conventions. And so they're hand done, the calligraphy, and these are Chinese letterings. And he is a Muslim from China, and he is, his artwork appears everywhere in museums, but very modestly priced at Islamic conventions. And I love buying his art. And I had someone tell me though, enough with the calligraphy, because it's everywhere in my home. So I have to maybe sort of branch out.
So you have other stuff behind you. Tell us about the rest behind you.
This one was actually from a calendar, from an Islamic calendar that had different mosques from around the world painted by different painters. And so what I did was I cut out the pictures and I framed them and I put them around my house just to give the calligraphy a little bit of a break. As Muslims, we tend not to put up pictures of, people or because we have sort of this belief that it's better not to be, because we came from a time period where I guess there was a lot of worship of idols, and we tried to get away from that and more to worship the one unseen God. And so as a result of that, our art form became more abstract. And so we have sort of a tradition of more abstract art.
And that's why if you go to the Met and see the amazing Islamic wing of the Met, it opens on Saturday, the museum does, after all these months. They have beautiful art, and it's mostly nature or architecture or buildings, right? Like it's not human figures.
Yeah.
That's what you
Exactly. There are different opinions about that, but I mean, so as a result of that, we just have a lot of this type of art. So I love it, and I put it up everywhere. Thank you.
And Lena says that Zarqa's background art is by Haji Noordin, who has a website, hajinoordin.com. So everybody check that out. And folks watching on Facebook were loving the art as well. And Lena says, Sree, when are you going to give us a private tour of the Met? Well, I could in the old days when I worked there for 3 years, 3 magical years. One way to take a tour of the Met through my eyes is to see the hashtag, the number 3 Met years, 3 Met years. And I've documented it in dozens and dozens of tweets. And of course, check out the website. I'm so proud of our team at the Met. When I was chief digital officer there, we had a fabulous team that did social, digital, web. We redid the website 500,000 pages. And it was a very meaningful and important part of my life, and I'll never, ever forget it. And please check out the Islamic art and all the other parts of the Met. It is such a fantastic place. With that, we will let our friend Zarqa get back to her. What are you on Mountain Time? What is the time zone?
I'm in Central Time, so it's 8 p.m. So I think we're 2 hours behind you.
All right. And Lena's got the hashtag there, 3 Met years. And Mark says, do you ever think that the American Muslim versus the world Muslim society isn't ripe for fun and satire?
I think we're always ripe for fun and satire if you do it right and do it responsibly.
Rajan says, thank you so much, Zarqa Nawaz. Have you been to Indonesia?
I have been to Indonesia. It's an incredible country. So beautiful. Yes, absolutely beautiful.
Salim says, I was fortunate to get a tour when she was at the Met. It was terrific. Still one of my most memorable New York experiences. Thank you so much. I knew so little, so I gave a different kind of tour. Lena says, love this interview. Hope to see you both again soon. Lena, ping me, catch me up on what you're up to. And great show, someone says. And once again, thank you, Sree, Rose, and Vandana, the producers. Jonathan says, wonderful show. And so we hope this translates into views for you and just the enthusiasm of people watching around the world to support you, Zarqa. Congratulations on making it this far. We hope you go all the way with this. Otherwise, fund it on your own. I'm sure you'll be able to raise enough money and do it. But much better to have the Canadian government give you money. They recognize the value of art, the value of culture, and they do a great job with that. So with that, we're going to let Zarqa go. Check out zarqanawaz.com. and see the trailer there as well. And follow her on Twitter at Zarqa Nawaz and Instagram, etc., etc., etc. Thanks very much, Zarqa.
Thanks so much for having me, Sree. It was awesome.
And folks, that was our guest, Zarqa Nawaz. She was fantastic. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Before we go, as we do every night, we say their names. And tonight, we have to say the name of Jacob Blake as well. As you know the story, he's not been killed yet. He's not died yet, and we hope he doesn't die. He was shot yesterday 7 times in the back at the time of this recording. He's still alive, fighting for his life, shot to death. We had asked Kimberly Crenshaw, the great Columbia Law School professor who coined the term intersectionality, what should we do? And she said, say their names. And so we will, in fact, say their names. A reminder to everyone, we do this show every single day, and we would love your support by coming out. And thank you for watching with us. We really appreciate it. And we want to make sure that everybody watching has a chance to support and be with us for future episodes as well. One of the ways to do that is to follow my YouTube account, youtube.com/SreeNet. We have all 167 episodes in one place, so you'll want to check that out. And you can check it out right there, youtube.com/SreeNet. Please email me, sree@sree.net. We would love to work with you. If you have an idea for a guest, you have an idea for a sponsorship, we'd love to do something with you. We'd love to explore. And we are so grateful to everyone who has supported this show. And we are now going to say their names. And we do that every single day because it is important that we are able to be allies of the African-American community. And it's so upsetting to watch that video, which I saw at about 11:45 last night. And I gasped when I saw it because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was watching it with the sound off, so I didn't hear the gunfire. And then I saw him fall and I said, my God, they shoot him? Because it wasn't clear that it was shots being fired if you watch it without the sound. And then you turn on the sound and you see 7 times. Absolutely horrifying and so unacceptable. So we're now going to say their names. This is a Time magazine cover by Titus Kaffer. You can see the young mother and her child snatched away. You see the blue glove of the pandemic. And on the right is Larcinia Floyd with young George Floyd. She would die 2 years almost to the day that he would be killed in Minneapolis. And so sad to see this photograph. And now we will say their names. And the names are Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jerame Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray. I'm going to pause there. You know, many of these names are household names like Trayvon, like Tamir, like Freddie, but do you know all the names? And there are so many. These are not all the names. William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. And those are not all the names. And here we are again watching in horror of a shooting of an unarmed black man by a police officer, even if he was armed. Nobody deserves to be shot in the back 7 times. And he is now fighting for his life in Wisconsin. Thank you for watching our show. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for enabling us to have serious conversations and light conversations. I laughed a lot because I needed to laugh today, because we always say if you don't laugh a little bit, you'll cry all day, given every horrible thing that's happening in the world right now. And it just becomes worse and worse. And as we go into this election season, it's going to get worse. We just know it with everything that's happening. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Nunbelievable for divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. 1 cookie equals 1 meal. 20% off with the code SREE, SREE. Please check out nunbelievable.com. Also, thanks to Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, free certification course now available, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. More than 4,000 people have taken this course. Please tag your friends right now so they can watch the show, support Zarqa, support us. We are so grateful to everybody who watches. Every retweet, every like, every share makes a difference. Every subscribe on YouTube makes a difference. We are also grateful to our friends at She's on Call. Check out at She's on Call on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Also, big thanks to Charles Cunnincarroll for The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by a developer of more than 80 patents, at Inventor Charles, and guidetoinnovation.com is his website. Check it out for free information that will help you decide whether you want to buy the book, The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention. Additional support provided by And that's our show for tonight. Episode 167 is in the books. Zarqa Nawaz was awesome as she took us through her journey and also told us about her new comedy, Zarqa, a mix of romance, race politics, and midlife rebellion. I think we got to the first and the last. We didn't get enough into race politics mixed into that comedy there. But thank you so much to Zarqa Nawaz. Please follow her. Please watch her trailer. And you can find it pinned to the top of her Twitter feed and on her website. And with that, we'll say goodbye. A reminder that one way to keep up with us and our show, daily show, is to use your QR code right now. You'll know when we're live. Just hold up your phone and you will get a gentle WhatsApp alert. If you are worried this is not another WhatsApp group, it's just a WhatsApp alert, very gentle, or just email me, sree@sree.net. We would love to talk to you and have you learn more about our show. Lots of great comments coming in. Awesome guest and awesome show. Thank you for saying their names. Doug says, Lena Hashem, thanks. This morning and yesterday were bad, but it's okay now. He's talking about the fires in Northern California. So many lives cut short. So sad. Thank you, says Doug. And Salim says, definitely important to remember there are good things happening too. I agree completely. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.